Before he ever threw a pass in the NFL, Shedeur Sanders was selling out college stadiums, drawing celebrities to the sidelines and trending. Deion Sanders helped build the image, but it was Shedeur's swagger, talent, and online presence that made him a cultural. Then came the Browns and silence. His music? Scrap. His vlogs? Gone. The spotlight that once followed him vanished, not from failure, but from deliberate organizational choice. It's a jarring fall, not in performance but in presence. A fade into anonymity orchestrated by a team too afraid to embrace what they had.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
There's a reason no one's talking about sold-out Browns games anymore, and it's not just about wins and losses. It's about connection. Fans didn't fall for stats. They fell for the story, the personality, the aura that Sanders carried with him. By stripping that away, the Browns lost more than buzz. They lost their chance at relevance, influence, and growth. The empty stadiums aren't just seats. They're statements, echoing a question no one in the front office seems ready to answer. Why silence your star? Mary Kay Cabot went off, not just off script but off the rails, calling out Kevin Stefanski right after Shedeur Sanders and Shedeur Jeudy got into it at practice. A full-blown fight. Cameras caught it. Reporters scrambled. And for a brief second, all eyes were back on Cleveland. Not because of a highlight, not because of a breakout performance, but because chaos finally leaked through the cracks of a tightly controlled system. And that system? It's the reason we're even talking about this. This isn't about one practice scuffle. This is about an organizational failure that's been bubbling under the surface ever since the Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders, and then tried to strip him of everything that made him who he is. His personality, his creativity, his star power. All of it, dulled by a franchise still too scared of its past to see the potential in its future. Let's talk facts. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a promising quarterback. He is the most Googled athlete in the world. Not in Ohio. Not just among rookies. The world. And not only that, he's the 5th most searched person overall. Think about the kind of cultural gravity that takes. Shedeur has it. Had it. Until the Browns got their hands on him. Instead of building around that momentum, they buried it. They told him to tone it down. Stop the music. Stop the vlogs. No more flexing your lifestyle, your charisma, your influence. Just be a football guy. Do your job. Don't draw attention. As if visibility was the enemy. As if his cultural footprint was a risk. And now they're confused why the stadium's half empty. They don't get it. Or maybe they do and they just don't care. Either way, the result is the same. The most captivating young star in football has been turned into just another quiet name on the roster. A guy you don't hear about unless there's a conflict or a stat line. The energy? Gone. The spectacle? Gone. The connection with fans? Non-existent. And no, it's not just a coincidence. Before the NFL, Shedeur was a walking event. At Colorado, his games brought out celebrities. He sold out stadiums. He made headlines for more than his arm. He made them for his presence. He understood what it meant to not just play in the spotlight, but to be the spotlight. That charisma translated into real results. Buzz, attention, revenue. He made Colorado matter. He made college football fun again. And yet, in Cleveland, they've done everything they can to scrub that clean. What they did to Shedeur is what organizations do when they're scared. Scared of risk, scared of personality, scared of something they can't fully control. They saw the ghost of Johnny Manziel, and instead of seeing how Shedeur was nothing like that, they overcorrected. They tried to turn a cultural icon into a robotic professional. And in the process, they erased the very things that made him valuable. This is what Mary Kay Cabot was really reacting to. Not just the shouting match at practice. Not just Stefanski's inability to manage tensions. But the fact that this is what it's come to. When you suppress personality, when you push players into a lifeless mold, that frustration doesn't go away, it builds. And eventually, it explodes. This was, you don't bench a personality like Shedeur Sanders and expect the team to thrive. You don't silence someone with that much star power and expect fans to stay engaged. And you definitely don't hide a player who's literally out searching some of the most famous people in the world, and then scratch your head when ticket sales drop. This isn't a football issue. This is a branding disaster. A fan engagement crisis. A cultural misread so massive it's practically malpractice. Because you can see it. The buzz has vanished. The excitement is gone. The celebrity presence that once surrounded Shedeur like a spotlight? Nowhere to be seen. And that's not on him. That's on the Browns. They didn't just fail to capitalize, they actively rejected the attention, thinking it was safer that way. But safe isn't working. What they've created now is a dead zone. No buzz, no momentum, and worst of all, no connection. Because you can't build a loyal fan base around someone the fans aren't even allowed to see. Shedeur was a bridge, a direct link between football and culture, sports and entertainment. But they shut that bridge down before anyone could walk across it. And let's talk about how obvious the fallout is. You don't get to be the most Googled athlete in the world and not move tickets, unless the organization gets in the way. You don't trend globally and then play in front of empty seats, unless something has gone very wrong. The Browns didn't just fail to market Shedeur. They erased him. They took a brand and broke it down into something generic, bland, invisible. And the results are exactly what you'd expect. Morale in the locker room? Flat. Media interest? Minimal. Fan engagement? Non-existent. And now, conflict is boiling over in practice. And that's what finally gets people talking. Not a play. Not a win. A fight. That's where we're at. And it's even more frustrating because there's still a clear path forward. This isn't some irreversible situation. It's simple, let Shedeur be who he is. Let him post. Let him drop music. Let him show up on podcasts, on social media, on vlogs. Let him own his space again. Because when he's allowed to take up space, everything else lights up. The fans, the team, the media, the city. Right now, Cleveland has something rare. A player who matters beyond the game. A player who could elevate the franchise from sports section afterthought to cultural main event. But they have to stop treating that as a liability. It's an asset. It always was. And Shedeur's not the problem. He never was. The problem is an outdated mentality that confuses control with competence. That views creativity as distraction. That fears personality instead of embracing it. That thinks being marketable is somehow a threat to being a leader. But the future of sports isn't in silence. It's in visibility. Athletes aren't just players anymore. They're brands, media engines, cultural connectors. And when you take that away, you're not protecting the team, you're sabotaging it. So here's the truth. If the Browns want to fix this, they need to start with one simple move: stop getting in the way. Let the stars shine. Let the fans in. Let the energy come back. Because right now, Cleveland doesn't just have a quarterback problem. They have an identity crisis. And if they're not careful, they won't just lose the moment. They'll lose the player. You've seen the numbers. You've seen the impact. You've seen the mess. Now it's time to talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this with someone who still thinks quiet quarterbacks win games. And if you're into breaking down sports drama, celebrity chaos, and PR meltdowns that somehow still get worse by the week, hit subscribe. We're just getting started. So now we've got a viral practice brawl, an enraged beat reporter, and a fan base starting to realize the Emperor has no vibes. This isn't about one bad practice or a flare-up in the heat of competition. This is the culmination of months of pressure, suppression, and frustration finally boiling over, and now it's public. What's happening in Cleveland isn't just dysfunction, it's disconnection. Between players and coaches. Between the franchise and its star. Between the team and its fans. And all of it ties back to one thing: the Browns' decision to smother Shedeur Sanders' identity under the weight of their own insecurities. Let's stop acting like Shedeur was some project that needed fixing. He was already a fully formed star. He came into the league with a bigger following than most established NFL veterans. He brought with him a proven formula: personality plus performance equals attention, attendance, and dollars. The Browns had everything they needed to build a new era. And instead of riding that wave, they resisted it. They didn't want the flash. They didn't want the fame. They didn't want the noise. So they quieted it. They shut down the music, the cameras, the social presence, everything that made him him. And now they're shocked that what's left doesn't connect with anyone? The irony is stunning. It's like buying the Mona Lisa and covering it with beige paint because it's too bold, and then wondering why no one's coming to your gallery. And here's the part they really don't get. People weren't just watching Shedeur for his stats. They were watching because he gave them something to feel. Whether it was confidence, charisma, or just plain fun, he made people care. And when you strip all that away, all you're left with is another guy in a helmet trying to look focused in post-game interviews. And there's 1,000 of those. Fans want authenticity. That's the secret sauce of modern sports culture. People connect with athletes who show up as themselves, who bring the audience along for the ride. That's why content creators are pulling in millions of views and merch sales, because they build community. They offer access. They're real. And Shedeur understood that. He built his brand on it. Not through some NFL PR strategy, but through genuine personality. He opened the door and let people in. And those people? They showed up. In person. Online. In droves. That's not luck. That's connection. So what did the Browns do with all that potential? They called it a distraction. They treated cultural relevance like it was something to survive instead of something to embrace. Because they weren't just scared of Johnny Manziel, they were scared of attention, period. They were scared of personality. And that fear? It cost them. In energy. In attendance. In momentum. And now that fear is catching up with them. The vibes are gone. The seats are empty. The only time they trend is when something goes wrong. And the people who once flooded Shedeur's social media can't even find a reason to stay interested. That's how quickly you lose it when you don't understand what you have. And this whole time Shedeur has stayed quiet. Publicly at least. He's been respectful. Focused. Playing by the rules they set for him. But the fight at practice? That was the first real crack in the wall. That wasn't just heat of the moment adrenaline. That was a year's worth of silence breaking in real time. And Mary Kay Cabot? She knew. You don't go off on a coach like that unless you've been watching things fall apart for a while. She didn't lose it over a few punches, she lost it over everything. Over the dysfunction. The wasted potential. The choices that led to this. Shedeur Sanders should have been the Browns' crown jewel. Instead, he's been by fear-based leadership that sees uniqueness as a liability. And let's be honest, this isn't just bad management. It's bad business. You want numbers? Let's talk numbers. He was the most Googled athlete in the world. Not the most Googled rookie. Not the most Googled in football. The world. And fifth overall among all people. That's global influence. That's rare. That's generational. And the Browns have done next to nothing with it. No Shedeur-themed merch line. No behind-the-scenes content. No personality-driven promos. No engagement with his fan base. Just silence. Sterility. A deliberate, boring wideout of someone who could have changed the entire direction of the franchise. And guess what? You can't hide a star forever. If you try to contain that kind of energy, it will find a way out. Whether it's through public frustration, locker room drama, or players tuning out completely, suppression never lasts. The Browns tried to turn Shedeur Sanders into someone he's not, and the cracks are starting to show. Meanwhile, other teams are watching. The league is watching. And you know what they're seeing? They're seeing a quarterback who still has one of the largest fan followings in the sport, but whose own team doesn't know how to support him. If things keep heading in this direction, it's not hard to see how this ends. Eventually, Shedeur's going to stop waiting for the Browns to figure it out. He's going to reclaim his brand, with or without their permission. And when he does, he'll be fine. His fan base will follow him. His platform will grow. His visibility will explode the moment he's allowed to be seen again. But the Browns? They'll be left explaining how they took a cultural phenom and turned him into a PR silence. This whole situation is a masterclass in what not to do when you land a superstar. If your team is blessed with someone who can elevate the brand, the experience, and the locker room just by being himself, you let him. You don't shrink him down. You build around him. Because the thing Cleveland doesn't understand is that leadership isn't about control. It's about trust. It's about creating space for the right people to thrive. Not micromanaging them into irrelevance. And yes, there's always going to be a risk when you give a star room to shine. But you know what's even riskier? Letting that star fade. Letting the fans disconnect. Letting the vibe disappear until your team is just another logo, another schedule filler. Right now, Cleveland is living in that reality. They had the golden goose. They locked it in a cage. And now they're wondering why the fans stopped showing up to the farm. But it's not too late. The fans are still waiting, watching, hoping he gets the freedom to be himself again. So what now? The Browns need to own it. Admit they mishandled it. Stop managing Shedeur like a fragile asset and start embracing him like the superstar he is. Let the music drop. Let the cameras roll. Let the brand breathe. Because every moment they delay, they risk losing not just a player, but everything he brought with him. And when he eventually takes off, and he will, it won't be a story of ego. It'll be a story of organizational failure. Of a team that couldn't see the value in authenticity. Of a franchise that let fear cost them relevance. So if you're frustrated, you should be. If you're watching this thinking, how does this keep happening? You're not alone. This isn't just a Browns problem. It's a league-wide pattern. A refusal to adapt. A fear of the new. And Shedeur? He just happens to be the latest victim of it. But maybe not for long. Because stars don't stay hidden forever. And when that light comes back on, it's going to be blinding. here's the reality. This is the kind of mess that doesn't just blow over. It lingers. It sticks to the walls of a franchise like bad paint. Everyone can see it even if leadership keeps pretending the color's fine. You can feel it in the locker room. You can hear it in the reporter's tone. You can see it in Shedeur's body language every time he steps up to the mic and gives those dry, safe, manufactured answers. The sparkle is gone. The fun? Gone. The brand? Muffled. And all of that, every bit of it, traces back to a single, inescapable truth. The Browns never actually wanted Shedeur Sanders. They wanted the quarterback part, not the person. They wanted the arm, not the artist. The stat line, not the storyline. And now they've got the version they created, watered down, carefully packaged, emotionally unavailable. And guess what? No one cares. The fans don't show up for robots. They show up for stars. Let's go back to those numbers again because they matter. Shedeur was the most Googled athlete in the world. 5th most Googled person overall. That is insane. That kind of digital footprint is unheard of for a rookie, especially one who hadn't even taken an NFL snap at the time. He wasn't just entering the league with buzz. He was dragging millions of eyeballs with him. Brands would kill for that kind of organic reach. Teams would restructure entire marketing departments to ride that wave. And what did Cleveland do? They hit mute. No campaigns. No behind-the-scenes access. No push to make Shedeur the face of the franchise. Just radio silence and a PR-approved version of his personality that nobody connects with. Even now, when the rest of the league is leaning into personality-driven content, when fanbases are literally demanding more access to the players they love, Cleveland's strategy is the opposite. Limit visibility. Minimize exposure. Keep it professional. But it's not professionalism. It's fear. Fear of headlines. Fear of distractions. Fear of a player becoming bigger than the franchise. And that fear? It's killing everything. It's killing momentum. It's killing creativity. It's killing the exact thing that made Shedeur special in the first place. Because Shedeur wasn't just supposed to be a quarterback, he was supposed to be a movement. The next evolution of what an NFL star could look like. Part player, part personality, part media mogul. And instead of letting that happen, the Browns slammed the brakes. And now they're sitting in the middle of a stalled-out brand wondering why no one's honking anymore. The silence is deafening. Even from fans who once flooded Shedeur's socials with hype and excitement. Where's that energy now? It's gone. And not because they stopped caring, because they were pushed away. The Browns made it clear, they didn't want the spectacle. And when you reject the spectacle, you also lose the people who came for it. It's not just a branding fail, it's a cultural fail. This goes beyond X's and O's. It's about what teams represent. In 2025, franchises are competing for attention, not just wins. You're not just trying to beat the other team, you're trying to matter in a world full of distractions. And personality is your best shot at relevance. But the Browns didn't get that memo. They thought the Shedeur machine could be reprogrammed into something safe. They didn't understand that the machine is the brand. That the music, the content, the behind-the-scenes stuff, that's what fans latch onto. That's what creates emotional investment. And when you take that away, you get exactly what Cleveland has right now. A roster with no juice, a schedule full of games no one talks about, and a quarterback who looks like he's doing time instead of building a legacy. And yet, somehow there's still people defending this approach. Still saying things like, he needs to focus on football. Or, he's a rookie, he should keep his head down. But here's the thing, they don't say that about anyone else who fits the traditional mold. No one told Baker Mayfield to tone it down when he danced in commercials. No one told Travis Kelce to chill out when he leaned fully into the celebrity life. They were celebrated for it. So why the double standard with Shedeur? Why is his personality a problem? When others get to ride theirs all the way to endorsement deals and media deals. The answer is uncomfortable, but real. It's because Shedeur doesn't fit the old school box. He's not here to play a character. He's not interested in being molded into something safe and generic. He knows his worth. He's already built his own ecosystem. He doesn't need the NFL machine to define him, and that makes people in charge uncomfortable. And that discomfort? It turns into control. Control turns into restrictions. Restrictions turn into silence. And silence turns into disengagement. This is how you lose a star. Not through scandal. Not through poor performance. Through mismanagement. Through fear of the very things that made him powerful. You want to talk about cautionary tales? This is one. Because if the Browns don't fix this soon, they're going to lose everything. Not just Shedeur's brand, but his loyalty. And once that cracks, Once he starts seeing other teams willing to embrace what he brings instead of trying to erase it, he's gone. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not next season. But the writing's on the wall. And when that day comes, it's not going to be about money. It's going to be about freedom. The freedom to post, to create, to be seen, to matter. And don't be surprised when that freedom brings his fanbase right back with him. Because they're still out there, still watching, still hoping the spark comes back. But every week of silence makes that spark a little. There's still time. Not much, but enough. The Browns need to let go of their fear and lean into the future. Let Shedeur be visible. Let him engage. Let him show people who he is. Because that's what makes him valuable. Not just his throws, but his presence. It's not about flash. It's not about ego. It's about connection. And if Cleveland can't understand that, someone else will. Someone else will let him be who he is. Someone else will unlock the full version. Someone else will benefit from the millions of fans the Browns pushed away. And Cleveland? They'll be left explaining how they managed to fumble one of the most culturally important draft picks of the decade. Because this was never just about football. This was about visibility, identity, impact. And the Browns are losing on every level. If you're watching this thinking, it can't be this bad, go look at the stands. Go look at the energy. Go look at the complete and total absence of Shedeur's voice in the public eye. It is that bad. But it doesn't have to stay this way. Here's the final truth that no one in that front office wants to say out loud. This didn't have to happen. Shedeur Sanders walked into Cleveland with momentum, with swagger, with millions of people ready to follow him into whatever jersey he wore. He had the power to turn the Browns from a punchline into a phenomenon. Not just with his talent, but with his presence, his story. And they smothered it. They feared the attention instead of fueling it. They silenced what made him resonate. And now, they're watching everything around him crumble, fan interest, media relevance, locker room energy, and acting surprised when it all spirals into a sideline fight and a reporter meltdown. But the signs were there. This isn't new. This is what happens when you force a star to dim his own light. When you tell the culture it's not welcome. When you choose control over connection. And while Shedeur's still showing up, still playing, still staying professional, don't get it twisted. This version we're seeing? It's not the full story. It's a filtered, restricted shell of someone who could have set the league on fire. And if Cleveland doesn't let him be himself, soon, someone else will. And when that day comes, all of this, the silence, the suppression, the missed opportunity, it'll be the Browns' legacy to explain, not his. So let us know what you think. Is this fixable? Is there still time? Or did they already lose what made Shedeur Sanders matter? Either way, stick around. This meltdown isn't cooling off anytime soon.